All right, ladies and gentlemen, today was questions on Manaḥ-śikṣā, and I hadn't opened up 4 questions up to now. Who has questions on this? No one has questions? We have questions. Okay, go ahead, start nice and loud.
So, Brahmaraj, in the 9th verse, you were mentioning how Giriraj and Radharani can give transcendental love, but then you were also saying that although we go to Radharani and then we go to Giriraj, it does not always happen that this love manifests immediately. So, what are the reasons for this delay in the appearance of love?
Well, the main reason is offenses. Giriraj, Radharani, chanting Hare Krishna, gives love immediately. And so many other wonderful things. So why don't we get the result? One reason, which is a common reason, is that offenses to the holy name block that result coming. Another one is that it's given, but it's given with a time, built-in timer. It's just like you buy some government bonds and they bear fruit in 5 years. Take it out earlier, but you have to wait until 5 years. So similarly, it may be that devotees will get Krishna Prema Pradayate, but it will be time. It will take time for one reason or another. And then of course the least reason is that devotees do get it, but they don't manifest it. They keep it hidden. And generally that is the conduct of Vaishnavas, is that they keep their devotional attainment a personal affair. But yes, that's a very relevant topic, question. Gornitai?
Every book have a specific effect, specific function. So how we should use this book of Manaḥ-śikṣā, daily reading or discussing with others, what is the most effective way to utilize or get these books effect on our heart?
Certainly discussing with others. And then, as I said, there are recommendations in there, and then we see if we include those recommendations within our sadhana. You're sick. So the doctor says you have to not eat 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things. And in your diet you have to include this, 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 and that. So then you're very particular when you're eating. Then these other things that's there, not to speak of medicine and so on that you also have to take. So similarly, when we receive these points from the acharyas, then if they're already part of our devotional diet, then fine. If they're not, then we know, okay, I should put this in. And Katyantasmam Nityatusyanticharamanticha, yes, devotees should discuss amongst themselves. That's considered the best way. That is actually what what is it called? Ishtagoshti is about. Ishtagoshti is not so much about, what everybody's supposed to do and so on, but Ishtagoshti is discussing. Prabhupada uses this word, discuss things threadbare. You know what threadbare means? This is material. Now, when you study this material, you can't see, it just looks like material. But you go down and you analyze it to the thread of all the threads. What count is it? In other words, how many per inch? And what's the weight? So threadbare, when you know a material, threadbare. So similarly, when you know something, threadbare. And that's why part of memorization is part of knowing something threadbare. And then Srila Prabhupada said, discussing it from different angles of vision. How do you get different angles of vision? Well, different devotees will have different angles of vision. Some will have the same, and then some will also give a different perspective. Because there are different ways of, you see a mountaintop, depending on where you are, it's the same mountaintop, but it looks different. So, yes, our diet. And now, Bhaktivinoda Thakur does say that 5 books of Raghunath Das Goswami have specific functions. And one of them is Manaḥ-śikṣā. I don't know why I'm looking around, because I don't have it here. But it's right at the end of Jaiva Dharma, one of the last topics. And these are Manaḥ-śikṣā, Vilat Kusumanjali, Vishakananda Vidha Stotram, Brajavilasastava, and
Swaniyamadasaka.
And yes, Swaniyamadasaka. And remember the function of each? Each one has a specific purpose.
He said Brajavilasastava is in order to know how to deal with the eternal associates of Braj.
Yes.
Vilapakusumanjali is for your eternal service in spiritual world. Svanyamadashakam is for the vows that you have to adopt in this life. And Vishaka, Ananda Vida Stotra is for remembering the eightfold pastimes of Krishna during the day. And I don't remember Manaḥ-śikṣā.
So they have a purpose. And he points out that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu empowered different devotees to write books for different purposes. Raghunath Das Goswami, Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Swarup Damodar Goswami, and so on. And their writings have, like Gaurnitai said, they have a specific function. But if you read Srimad Bhagavatam, then all of those things will be included there. but not so, sometimes not so explicitly. Okay, anybody else have questions?
I have two questions. I understand the value of repeating these prayers to the mind as a regular basis. I just wanted to inquire on a throughout the day basis, as we go through the day, the mind is so saturated with these impressions of contamination that is it just a continual kind of reminder to the mind, kind of beating the mind, or at what point does the mind actually start to change and move more naturally toward these positive thoughts?
I mean, yoga, bhakti yoga has two main functions. One is to control the mind, and the other one is to purify. Chaitodharpana. Ultimately, without purifying, control of the mind it's a dangerous position. You're never really secure. Although wise devotees never put their trust in the mind. So we're repeating Manaḥ-śikṣā. By repeating Manaḥ-śikṣā, then we have a opportunity to control our minds. But simultaneously, what are we doing? We're repeating the words of the acharyas. The verses are full of the names of Radha, Krishna, the acharyas, associates. By that chanting, we are purifying, and of course we're doing other things that purify our minds. If we do these things, Chaitodharpana, that he is recommending here, these will actually qualify us, purify us for these attainments. But while the purification is taking place, it has to be under control. So, like a crazy person. So if you have someone who's a lunatic, or someone who's just very mentally disturbed, so the doctors will give treatment, and the treatment will work in time, but until it does, then the patient has to be confined for his own good and for the good of others. So both of these things. So bandhuratmat manastasya jenatmaivat manajita. So mind is the friend and mind is also the enemy. So if you don't control your mind, it is it's still, even if it's controlled, it's still potentially your enemy. But when the heart is purified, then the mind loses its obstinate and wrongful attitude. And that's what we want to achieve. And that's why these purificatory activities are so important to get us to that stage. Devotees who are at the stage of nishtha, so all right, now the mind is controlled. The heart is not still fully pure, because sometimes, even though I'm controlling my mind, all of a sudden it's somewhere else. So that means that the impurities still are able to dominate. But when that purification progresses, then taste becomes raso varjam rasopyasya. Then the mind is getting a higher taste, finally getting a higher taste. Now, until we get there, it's a struggle, because there's less taste or little taste in those stages of devotional service. And so I'm doing something that doesn't necessarily feel good. So why should I do it? Because I have my intelligence tells me so. And when does my intelligence tell me so? When I'm regularly in touch with Krishna's intelligence. Tadami buddhi jogam tam. I give them the intelligence. That means it's Krishna's intelligence. He's giving you his intelligence. So dadami buddhi. But if we're not in touch with Shastra and devotees don't understand this point, then it's just catastrophe. What was it that was having this conference with Radha Krishna Prabhu earlier, and this, Siddhanta paper, which I was supposed to have been part of, but never even heard of it, not to speak of being part of it. But it begins with statements by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. This is from his book Prakrita Rasa Shata Dushini. Siddhanta vihine koile Krishna chitta lagina sambandha hinera kabu abideya hoyana. When the heart or consciousness is devoid of the understanding of Siddhanta, it will not be fixed on Krishna. Abhideya in no way takes place for one who is devoid of sambandha. So abhideya means practice. So a person who does not know Siddhanta will not be able to practice Krishna consciousness, won't be able to stick to it, or it won't be very efficient, or it will be wrong, because he does not know what is the sambandha, what is the relationship. So Siddhanta. Then he says, sambandha vihina jana prayojana payana ku siddhanta vyasta jana Krishna seva korina. One who is devoid of sambandha doesn't obtain prayojana. One who is deluded by misleading conclusions, ku siddhanta, doesn't perform service to Krishna. And then the last one, I'll just read the translation. One who is lazy to understand Siddhanta cannot get rid of anarthas. One who confuses Krishna with matter doesn't perform service to Krishna. So, very interesting. Siddhanta alas jana anartha to charena. One who is lazy to understand Siddhanta cannot get rid of anarthas. So, Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains in Harinam Chintamani, if devotees do not have sambandha gyan, they cannot become free of anarthas. So what to speak of getting Krishna's lotus feet? And it's very important, therefore, to understand now what is it that our philosophy is based on? What is the tenets of our philosophy? This is a very interesting paper. It was one of the more philosophical things that the GGC embarked on quite some years back, right after my time. And it was about stating what are the fundamental principles of ISKCON's philosophy. And it's really based on Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Dasamula Tattva, which is Bhaktivinoda Thakur includes it in 3 or 4 different books of his. He has a book separately just on that. It's in Manaḥ-śikṣā Amrita. And he says this is the kernel or the seed of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings. These 10 principles, which are also based on Sambandha, Abhideya, and finally Prayojan. Someone else? Manaḥ-śikṣā.
I just found the last one.
Manaḥ-śikṣā.
Manaḥ-śikṣā is to know how to absorb your mind in Krishna Lila, according to the approach specified in Manaḥ-śikṣā.
Absorb your mind in Krishna Lila. So it's not just about getting rid of bad habits, but ultimately absorbing our mind in Krishna's wonderful pastimes. Other questions?
Another one. I was curious what one might say the adhikar for applying these teachings are. Is this for across the board all devotees, or is there a certain degree of advancement needed? And the context is something like giving up. Well, maybe I'll start with that, because are all of these instructions applicable for any devotee, or?
Some of them are for all devotees, and others require more understanding, more purification. The beginning, Guru Goshte, Goshtalayishu, these are as well as no dharmam, na dharmam. These are relevant to everybody, but generally speaking, because the purpose is to be able to absorb your mind in Krishna's pastimes, then spiritual master, you can learn these, and you can learn the verses, and you can repeat them and meditate on them. But ultimately, quality application will come according to qualification.
Like this Dharma, Adharma. In Mahaprabhu's Leela, he seems quite insisted in certain cases of following Varnashram principles. He was very strict. So, on the one hand, we should give up Dharma, but how is that really applied for a devotee?
Varnashram Dharma, of course, is not meant to be given up, but so many other dharmic activities that the Dharma Shastra recommends, which are really details, are not. But guna karma vibhagasha, to act according to one's nature and to follow the principles of one's station, whether it's dharma or it's ashram. So we don't abandon our ashram, for instance. So sannyasis are meant to act this way, and so on. Our whole movement is within the confines of varnashram. So our sannyas is varnashram sannyas, not Babaji sannyas, and like that. But there are many other things, such as attainment of heavenly planets and performing fruit of sacrifices, which may be pious activities, but what to speak of then adharma. Other questions? Pranarama?
My question is that you said that prema is in everyone's heart like wood, like fire is there in wood. My question is that, is it only there as wood for people who have not practiced Krishna consciousness? And then when they start, it starts sparking up? Or does it only start changing from wood when one is already about to achieve prema? Or is it that as one advances, the spark gets bigger and bigger?
Yes, fire is latent within wood, and the warmer the wood becomes, the more the tendency for the fire. So if you ever put like logs on fire, so then all of a sudden it bursts into flame when it reaches a certain temperature. So it increases. That's the whole principle from very, very minute amount to its presence and influence increases, but it still remains in that common feature, which is it's still latent. And unless Krishna's mercy comes in the form of the basic ingredient of love, which is that Ladini Sakti, unless we get touched by that Ladini Sakti, it remains like that. It won't. So Rupa Goswami says that there are two reasons why it's very difficult to get Krishna's mercy. One is because you have to attain attachment. Attachment means a sakti. Practically love. But still not. And then the other is that even if devotees have a sakti, then Krishna still doesn't give it easily. It's not an automatic thing. He gives it when he wants to give it. And so one may have that developed. It's there, it's grown, but it stays in that latent form because that external flame is not there to then let it burst into flame and to start burning. And once it starts burning, then it feeds on its own. Same thing in which love was latent, now that becomes the fuel, in other words, the wood. So somehow or another, to attract Krishna's mercy. That's why Srila Prabhupada would say that the fastest, surest way of getting Krishna's mercy is by preaching. There are many ways to preach. You speak at prasadam, you distribute books, you go speak on Krishna's behalf, you do Harinam. So this is all preaching activities. But best is if you, or be connected and support that preaching. You cook for the preachers and so on. So this all contributes to that preaching spirit. That's the best way to get Krishna mercy. And so devotees who are really determined to advance, and I've done so many things in so many lives now. Why am I going to get another profession, and why am I going to get another job? I've already done all these things. And so what's the result? This is the result, look at me. That's the result. So why bother with all of these things? Rather, let me just dedicate this life in trying to get Krishna's mercy. And Krishna doesn't easily give it. And why doesn't he easily give it? Because when he gives it, then he comes under the control of the devotee. So that's why Krishna is very fussy, and he really wants to make sure that he can trust you. We're the ones who keep asking questions about how do I know about this, how do I know about that. Krishna is the one who's asking, how do I know I can trust? You've been hanging around here in the material world for millions and billions of lifetimes, had so many opportunities to go back to Krishna. What to speak of, we originally left him, or at least turned away from him. Krishna Bahimukha Hona Bhogavanchakari. Why should he trust us so easily? We have to really prove that we're trustworthy, and this time it's for good. So we have to get Krishna's faith. So, Bhakti Yoga starts with Ado Shraddha. You have to have faith. Well, the other thing is that Krishna has to have faith. And when he's really convinced, all right, then he gives prema, which is very, very wonderful, very extraordinary thing. People tend to say, yeah, sure, I love God. Love is such a cheap thing nowadays. Everybody's, they love their shoes, they love their dogs, they love their hat, they love their nose, they love their nose pin. But what is really love? So technically, that's what Krishna consciousness means, to learn how to love. Atmandriya Priti Vanchabolika, Krishnandriya Priti Dhore Primana. So to really learn how to love, people think, no, it's just something that comes spontaneously, but it's not. It's something that you have to learn. And there may be so many different types of attachments. Do children love their parents? Their parents are their source of maintenance. So they have a natural dependence on them, and they have a natural affection as a result of that. But that's a different thing than love. Love isn't because someone's satisfying my senses. So as soon as you don't satisfy their senses, they start screaming. And so many different types of so-called love, but it's actually very calm. It's karma, it's lust. Okay, so tomorrow is Kirtan, and I guess we do get inside, and we'll start at 7, and then go till 9. We just chant Hare Krishna tomorrow. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ashko Swami ki jai, Śivarāma Damodar ki jai, Jai Gaur Premanandi.